Okay, good morning, everybody. What is today? I just looked at the thing. This is going to be like a live update. November 21st, 2018. I don't have time to write. I didn't check the news. I'm uploading videos. Tunches, Guy Williams, Campbell, Ivanka Trump, Joe McComb. I want to hit all those. I want to do a little update and little... I've been talking about a bank robbery in Corpus Christi, and as I looked at it online the other day, it looked like a friend or somebody I know that's an officer. It just does look that way. They got rid of all the pictures online, but the Color Times, I picked up the hard copy yesterday, and it was indeed in the picture was in the Color Times. And it said, do you identify this person? It sure looks to me like an officer that I know. But then I began to think of the way things like that are dealt with in this community. And I thought, I wonder if any other officers, if it's him, recognize him. And then I began to think, if it is him, surely they would recognize him. But over my years here, the procedure is not if the chief recognizes it's one of his men, or if the other officers recognize it's one of them. I don't think that would be sufficient to do an arrest on an officer. Because what it said in the paper and online is, if you know who this is, contact us. Contact who? The employer of the person who might have committed the robbery? Would it be possible that even if a citizen contacted law enforcement and said, we know who that is, it's one of your guys, if it's true, would it be possible that he himself would be taking the report? You say, yeah, come talk to one of our men. He's going to take your report. And say if you went into the police department and he's the man there. So now what do you got to say? This is, of my parable. And the person might be shaking and say, oh my. And saying, what do you got to say? You're going to report me? Just because I'm, maybe, it's possible. What a disgrace this community is. What an utter corrupt disgrace this community is. Yeah, I can do all of it. Now, the Eric Tunches, he was a local man running for one of the positions in the recent elections in Corpus Christi. I think one of my daughters kind of liked Eric Tunches, like on the Facebook, because then I just checked. I don't look at Facebook a lot, I just post. But because there was some stuff in the community. So he was running for council. He had like a Facebook page, Eric Tunches for district, whatever. And then right like a day or so before the election, the Corpus Christi Caller reported that he had wrongfully, that a felony indictment, that Mark Gonzalez and the local district attorney and prosecutors brought a felony indictment on promotion of prostitution. But the charge supposedly dated back like 2 years ago, in the beginning of 2017. But all of a sudden, all right, Mr. Gonzalez and his top prosecutor, I believe they're probably upright. Mark Manning is his name, a black man. And they had to come out because Tunches is Gonzalez, our district attorney, he said, is targeting me. And Mark Gonzalez said, look, we're not targeting anybody. But it is questionable that the Color Times lied, according to Sheriff Jim Kalin, the former sheriff. The Color Times said it was a felony. All right? Jim Kalin, the former sheriff, actually wrote a Facebook post. You can find it on El Defensor, Homer Villarreal, Hispanic advocate for many years. I like Homer from El Defensor. Firehouse, we used to read his hard copy of the newspaper. He's now online. Okay, El Defensor on Facebook, if you go to their page, Homer Villarreal, I believe is his name, also an advocate, social justice advocate for many years in South Texas, politically active and all. He posted a Facebook post from the former sheriff Jim Kalin, who the former sheriff himself said what the Kohler Times was doing in this whole Eric Tunches thing was corruption in South Texas. Now, for a former sheriff to do that, now later he deleted that post. Why, I don't know. He basically said, now this is the testimony of a man that's been in law enforcement for many years in Corpus Christi and Oasis County. He said that he himself contacted the Kohler Times over his career as sheriff here, and that they falsely reported felonies when they were not felonies, they were misdemeanors. And he said in that post that's still on El Defensor, he said he contacted the reporter at the Kohler Times, and the reporter at the Kohler Times, he said to her, that's fake, you're printing something false about another case. And he said, Jim Kalin's testimony was that the reporter told him she notified whoever was in charge of her, and they said they knew it was false, and but they wanted to put that false thing in there. That's Kalin's testimony. And that Jim Kalin said she finally quit because she realized the media in this community is not about telling you the truth, but it's about manipulation. That's what they believed. Go check it out on El Defensor on Facebook. He's out of Robstown, I believe, Homer. Joe McComb, Aisling Campbell. This is local politics and the runoff for mayor. The Kohler Times, I kind of agreed with them on this aspect. They endorsed a woman running for mayor. Her name was Aisling Campbell. I went to HEB in Flower Bluff a few weeks ago, and there was one of the girls working. Her name tag said Aisling, and I was not familiar with what the girl running for mayor looked like. I said, "Are you the girl running for mayor?" But she was familiar. It wasn't her. She was the HEB checkout lady. She said, "Well, we spell her name a little differently," so she knew Aisling Campbell was running for mayor. Okay, Joe McComb is in a runoff with another man. It's a Republican runoff. Now, of course, I'm sure she felt bad because Aisling Campbell did not win for mayor. She's not even in the runoff. I believe it's between Joe McComb and maybe a man by the name of Michael Hall. They're both Republicans running for the, the runoff. The one time I heard Aisling Campbell was on either Jim Lago or Bob Jones, local talk radio personalities out of Corpus Christi. And I just called her, 20 minutes. But she was very knowledgeable about police and fire. And I thought, oh, maybe she's married to a firefighter or something, but she knew a lot. But also, she referenced people to a various website or websites that were exposing criminality, corruption in Corpus Christi, in this region, crime and all these types of things. So the local people, the media, those in the know, probably decided no. I worry that that woman would be targeted in this manner, that either cops or whoever would pull her over wrongfully because she was a critic. There's a history of that. And my personal experience was trying to be run off the bridge by an officer in a cop car doing maybe 100 miles an hour, almost ran my vehicle. I testified, wrote that. This community covers up that. Whether it was my friends who got brutalized on video on a stripes camera by an officer then got off duty later, beat the shit out of my friends, multiple times, reported. They know it. They know it. They know it. That's why it made me think, even if that picture in the colder times, which certainly looks like an officer to me, they would know it. They would know it. And then they would wait and tell the community, how dare you call Crime Stoppers and report one of our people? That's what you have here. Let's see, I did Tunches. I spoke on Aislinn Campbell. Mayor Joe McComb, also on the local talk radio that I heard while they were doing a campaign. This was on Lago's show. Mayor McComb showed how like 90% of the expenses in Corpus Christi and tax revenue and so forth, but how it goes to the cops or public safety, fire and cops, but the majority, meaning they were very overpaid, they cashed out on their retirements. It's a citywide retirement. I'm in a statewide, I'm a retired firefighter, but I'm in TMRS, Texas Municipal Retirement System. Corpus Christi firefighters and public safety are in a citywide retirement, meaning you're paying out. Now they're going to bankrupt this community. I looked at the numbers. I used to be in contract negotiation. We might be the only city in the United States of America where 90-something% of those revenues are going to public safety, but I think it's a much larger number going into police. The police in this community, when they cash out, many of them work so many years, and then if the heat's on, they retire. Some of them, because of sick leave and back pay, getting, maybe $1 million cash, $800,000 cash, plus a lifelong retirement, way over. How did they accomplish that? So Mr. McComb rightfully simply said, we're heading to bankruptcy unless we cut the force. Ms. Campbell also realized, I'm not saying they're all bad, all right? But then the cops, even during the show on Jim Lago where he was interviewing Joe McComb, one of the commercials was from the police, from the union, aggressively attacking Joe McComb, saying he's lying. And then they manipulated the numbers. The police themselves, out of the union ad against Joe McComb, they lied to the community, flat out lied, and said, Mr. McComb's lying and this and this and this and this. Well, when the commercial ended, Jim Lago was interviewing the mayor at that time, and Jim Lago said, what do you got to say to that? And Mayor McComb basically refuted that the cops lied openly, publicly, and about that particular issue that I'm discussing. Now, I would wonder if Mr. McComb would be targeted. Not murdered, that's... that goes on, but like, oh, Mr. McComb, look, I've researched this stuff. There was a contract negotiations many years ago, because I look at all this. And in the contract negotiations, the commissioners who were not for the raise, the money, the putting it into the cops, those commissioners, this was another city, not Corpus, during their negotiations, one of the commissioners was at a restaurant. And at that restaurant, they served alcoholic beverages. I remember reading this online. And so he ate. He was with his friend. He drove home. And the cops knocked on his door. What the hell is that? So he answered the door. Now he was negotiating with the cops. He answered his door. Step outside. Well, we live in a get out to your house. Arrested his ass for DUI. Wow. He was sober. He was like an AA guy. He wasn't drinking for many years. One of the officers who was negotiating with him during that contract negotiation saw him and the people that were and assumed he was drinking, lied their asses off, went to his house and illegally arrested him for DUI. That was brought out. So you're not dealing, in that element, you're dealing with rank criminals. And I can cover all these cases. That just came to my mind. Judge Guy Williams, this just shows you that this city, I wouldn't be surprised if people just abandoned their homes and fled the city. Meaning just put a sign, Coldwell Banker, what happened? Why are all these homes that they just fled? Get out with your life. Coldwell Banker puts it on the market. Well, we want to buy this home. Or, oh no, these are people that just fled Corpus Christi, Texas. And well, if we purchase it, who we're going to buy it from? Well, the money will go into the police thing, maybe. Judge Guy Williams. And I have to say that at this stage, Mr. Guy Williams was a judge, again, in this community, where we had judges found dead with their brains blown out in the courthouse. Tom Greenwell, dead in the courthouse. They said it was a suicide. What an amazing thing. Judge Guy Williams, a judge out of, 148th District Court or whatever, for many years. He's a Purple Heart recipient, fought in the war, But he's had a history here of, like, road rage incidents, pulling out a weapon, various things. But he got some people to represent him, and people that are connected so much here in this community. Went to trial. There's multiple incidents of this. Then they exonerated him. They dropped one charge, and then they got arrested again 8 months ago or whatever. Public intoxication, and okay, again in jail, again out of jail. He's gotten, if you will, special treatment because you can't have these multiple DUIs, arrests, and so forth. Well, it just happened again. He got out of all of those instances, and now he was out. There were 2 different reports, but they arrested him on DUI again, and he had a weapon on him. Which he's 3 weapons, I guess, they found in the vehicle. Now the media is reporting, rightfully, the Kohler Times is trying to expose it. And the media reported that he's now in jail, again. But he's being held in the county because it was a violation to have the weapons, of course, another DUI. And he violated the other arrest that happened maybe in May. Now, he's had a lot of instances, and I would just tell you, and now the lawyers, his lawyers, Lisa Greenberg and maybe somebody else, they're saying, well, we cannot, I read the article in the Kohler Times, it said PTSD, we want to get him in a treatment facility, putting people in jail is not getting them in treatment. Look, multiple times, my son-in-law, 60 years, Mingo, 60 years in prison. Most to 80%, and he's Hispanic. Does he have PTSD? Of course they deal with all these issues. But if you're connected in the community, you could have multiple instances. And then they advocate, well, we can't treat it. Mr. Williams is, after all these cases, look, there were people in prison out of Texas for many years because the second DUI, 3rd one's a felony. So I would just, was just an update. Those were the ones, I wanted to mention the Ivanka Trump thing just because of the disgrace of the media. I checked the news all day, national, local, and CNN had like breaking story yesterday, top of the news. Ivanka Trump used a personal email for government business. Now CNN knows they lie in this sense. And all the reports were, see, everybody should know. They did the same thing with James Comey. Hillary Clinton got away with a lot of crimes, destruction of evidence, and so forth, not because she used a private server, which she did, to conduct government business. A lot of people use private email to conduct government business, even if it was local government. When you're Secretary of State, the issue was did you share classified information on an unsecured server? Which is Ivanka Trump, of course, never did that, or any of them. But they're making it, they're going now after the daughter, you see. Now, Ivanka Trump was in the headlines, sort of like, see? And they did it with James Comey, and I'm not a defender of James Comey. They said it was revealed James Comey used his private email doing his work. And he himself had to come out and say, look, the issue isn't whether we're using a private email system or texting or whatever. It's whether you're doing sharing classified information, which Hillary Clinton did. But CNN knows they lie. You see, there's a lot of innocent people in the public on both sides of the aisle, and they would see that CNN thing all day yesterday. Ivanka used a private email, and they would assume that that was like a big crime. So they manipulate constantly. All right, I'm going to end this. I did not check the local news. I'm not sure if there was an arrest made, but I wouldn't doubt that if it was an officer, it certainly looks like him to me, it would still go by the wayside, because they don't want anything to look bad in this community. And if they had to cover up multiple things, I believe they would. If they had to, so this region, you got what's called nepotism and these types of things, people connected, the media's colludes and involved, and sometimes they'll try to expose a certain thing. So I would just say, hopefully Aislinn Campbell won't be getting pulled over. Like, oh, you're the woman that I reported this so many times. An officer still on the job. It makes no, you could report getting your ass kicked by a cop, which one of my homeless friends, shit beat out of you, beat up, still on the job, still on the force, going strong. This is unviable community for you to locate a business, for you to move to. And my sincere advice is, if you're traveling south, look, there's a pastor of a mega church. Let me put it this way. He, from what I understand, though the mega church is still a good church, and I like it, I believe he relocated his family to San Antonio. Now, if it's a secret or not, I think he realized after doing, and it's still a very good church, okay? You see me sometimes speak, I won't give the name. I think he just realized, I got to get my kids out of this community. And I believe he relocated them to San Antonio. Younger family, wonderful family, okay? So, it's just, we'll end it with that. We pray for righteousness to be, I don't hate Judge Guy Williams, but he's gotten favorable treatment, and so that's just not right, whether you're Hispanic, whether you're white, whether you're connected, whether you people have PTSD. People ask me, John, you have it. I'm sure I have it. Somebody and a few people ask me, I'm sure I have it. But that's not an excuse. I don't drink. I'm sober now almost 6 years by January 3rd. And our community does not deal with crimes and saying you can get away with DUIs multiple times because you have, no. There's many people, Hispanic, white, Anglo, who are in prison for many years that suffer from all those afflictions. But all of a sudden, somebody that's connected, somebody that has, we must not punish him. Oh, why? The poor, the Hispanic or the Anglo or the black, if he suffers from those things, which many do, substance, you go to prison. There's no advocacy. Hopefully they get treatment in prison is the way we deal with it. So you want fairness in the system. Okay, this is the first update.